Hello, my name is Brianna Latondre, and I'm an architectural designer with Hill Studio. Today I'll be talking to you about the housing principles that we've developed so far for this housing study. And these have been developed partly from the conversations that we've had with students of the DVTC, as well as community members of Lee County and business owners in the area. And then also we've learned lessons from the case studies that we've been looking at so far. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump into these housing principles. The first one is to provide a choice of multiple housing styles. So we really want to give these residents some flexibility when they're deciding what style of housing they want to live in, whether that's one bedroom versus two bedroom, or even multiple bedrooms for roommates. And then also whether they're single family homes or attached homes. Even different locations, so they don't all have to be on one site. We are looking at the option of picking a more rural setting as well as something in a town such as Ewing. Really just trying to give the students and community members that sense of autonomy when they're choosing where to live. Our second principle is to conserve the land with context-sensitive development. So we really want to be sensitive to the beautiful rural landscape in Lee County, Virginia. So we want to try to fit this community in as beautifully and seamlessly as possible, leaving large buffers of protected rural land so that we can still maintain those beautiful rolling hills and forests and nestle the houses sensitively within them. And then we also want to provide larger space for parks and public trails within this development. So not just housing. And those would be for use for both the community that lives there as well as the general public. So our next principle is to organize the community in clusters of 8 to 12 homes. So we don't want to just jam in this giant suburb. We really want to sensitively fit these neighborhoods together, knit them together. So building this larger housing development with these smaller households of 8 to 12. So you really get this tight-knit neighborhood of just, the 8 to 12 community members that you pass by on a regular basis and you get to know a little bit deeper. You have a deeper relationship with them. And then as you cluster these 8 to 12 houses together with other clusters, then you start to build that larger community. And to go along with that is principle 4. As you build those the larger communities based on those smaller clusters, then you have enough people to have some even larger public spaces. So as you have those, what we would call a larger aggregate community built around those smaller clusters, you have enough people to then support pavilions and tool sheds and community kitchens and even a shared laundry facility. And these not only benefit each individual resident as a wonderful amenity, but they also provide a place for residents to interact with one another and have gatherings. You can have community dinners and parties, block parties, and these community spaces. The next principle is to separate pedestrian and vehicle travel. So there are two primary reasons for this. For one, it's safety, really removing cars away from people as much as possible. That way, parents can let their kids go outside and play, and students can, or anyone can let their dog out and not worry that they're gonna run in with a car. And then the other reason for this is to promote social interaction. So if you have to walk a little bit further from your car to get to your front door, you pass one or two other neighbors on your way, you say hello, you interact with them more, and you just get, that fosters your sense of community even further. Principle number 7 is to layer public and private spaces. So we really want residents in this new community to have the benefits of both communal living as well as privacy. So these housing clusters break down the community into these smaller zones. So you have your community as a whole, And then you have these smaller clusters of 8 to 12 houses, and that have shared gardens or greens. And then from there, you have each individual home with its own private yard, and they can be fenced in to allow for pets to be able to roam where they want to. And then even further from that, each home can have its own covered porch. That way you can sit in your porch and look out onto the common space, and you still feel that connection, but you do have that sense of personal space. And this continues even further into our principle number 7, our last principle, facing active rooms of the house towards public space. So taking that idea of public-private space and moving that into the home. So there are more public areas of the house, such as the kitchen and the living room, where you might have guests over. Or you'll stand in the kitchen and look out the window as you are washing the dishes, and you might let your dog out to play or let your kids out to play, and you can still maintain that visual connection. Or even just look out and see your neighbors grilling in their front yard, that sort of more public portions of the house. And then you have your more private spaces, such as your bedrooms and your study spaces, and we want to keep those towards the rear of the home or even in a loft. That way they're quieter and a little bit less visible, less distractions. And then even going in more detail than that, we want to make sure that windows are located so as to not peer in on anyone else's private spaces. So really nesting the homes together in a way that you're looking out onto the public spaces, or you're looking out onto private yards and private gardens, but you're not staring into your neighbor's home. And those are all of the housing principles that we've come up with. We would really love to have your input. Thank you so much for listening to this explanation. And we really hope that you'll comment on our forms below and let us know what you're thinking. Let us know if there's anything we missed.